Sea of Red, are you ready?
You are Locked On Huskers, your daily podcast on the Nebraska Cornhuskers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, gang, happy spring game day. Thank you for joining Locked On Huskers for the first watch and listen each and every single day as you prepare yourselves for spring game and head down to Memorial Stadium. Look, we're going to cover it for you. I want to thank the folks for Built.com. So today, jump over to Built.com. New flavors. New exciting flavors. So all you have to do is go to Built.com and use the promo code LOCKEDON15, and you'll get $15 off your order. New flavor drops, unreal flavors, limited quantity. Get it done today. Built.com. Are you ready? Are you ready? Like this is the morning where you get all the tingles and all the feels, and you start to get just that small dose, that small injection of Husker football under new leadership, under a new roster, under new coordinators, under new players, under new construction. And it's that part that we're asking you to go into the stadium and to watch the spring game and have in mind. Under construction. This program has a sign at the gate, and it should say under construction. Because even on April 22nd, it will not be complete. It will not be whole. It will not be in full. This is just an introduction and a reintroduction of Husker football to its fan base and to itself, because I 100% want to state this. This football team and this football program has zero idea about what's going to be on display at Memorial Stadium. There's been plan and preparation, high repetition of running certain plays to get them easily executed, fully familiar. But we're talking about young men in new leadership. So I don't have the expectation that this is going to be pretty or clean or all involved. It is going to be informative, and that's the whole point. That's the only way to go into this thing. Now, through the course of this episode, we'll talk a little bit about the expectations and then the hopes, because the expectations and the hopes are not the same. They don't belong in the same place when it comes to new coaches, new players, new schemes, new verbiage. So, our hopes. Let's go with the hopes that everybody gets out healthy. Let's start with that. And I say that because you have half the roster, this is their first time playing at Memorial Stadium. Like, there's a large number of players who have never played at Memorial Stadium. This is the first chance that they're going to get live in front of fans, in front of these coaches. Coaches see them every day, but there's something about the crowd that changes performance and execution. Now, really good teams understand that the expectation of the work being done is just a carryover from all the practices and all the repetition. But coaches and players also know that when you get in front of the fans and you go live, weird things happen. And if you're a defensive player trying to find your way to the top of the depth chart, right? You're trying to find your way into the eye of the fan base so that they carry you out of the building and talk about you. You're trying to climb your way into the eyes and vision and perception of coaches so that they think, oh, maybe I really do have a guy. Maybe this is another one. But what happens on the defensive side of the ball in these scrimmages? Well, the easiest way, or one of the easiest ways, I won't say it's the easiest way, one of the easiest ways for a player to grab the attention of the fan base and the coaches is to do what? Hit. to make big plays through violence. That is how players move up the depth chart on defense. Come up, wrap up, take somebody's head off. Come up, be in the right place, make a big play in open space. Come up and shut down a player that folks have been talking about who's had success in practice. Come up and stop the first team guys, or to come up and make plays that the guy in front of you or the guy beside you can't make. That's the focus of defensive unit. Know your role and execute. And if you do it in exceptional form, then you move up and you give how many ever thousand folks there are going to be at Memorial Stadium. You give them a reason to take your name out of the building and to carry you in conversation from April 22nd until summer camp. That's what the spring game is for. Defensively, you hope that the game is played clean. You hope that you have playmakers on the defensive side of the ball. We know the playmakers on the offensive side of the ball and what their goals are. We'll be able to identify pretty easily whether offensive skill players are having a good Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Defensively, that may not be the case. And so a surefire way amongst all things of being in the right place at the right time, using the right skill set, is finishing the play. And fans and coaches react to big hits and solid tackles. The other side of it is not making mistakes. Don't jump off sides, unnecessary holding calls, pass interference calls. Like, those are the only things. Like, defensively, you can have a good day by simply not having flags thrown at you. Like, that's a win. You can have a full day on defense in a scrimmage like this just by not having your name and number called with a thrown flag. Because it means that in a moment of pressure, in a moment of chaos, you chose to go beyond and do something extra. No personal fouls, no holding penalties, no pass interference, no getting across in the neutral zone, lining up the right way. And then, and we'll talk about this in the last segment, it's a huge day for special teams. And so a lot of players are going to find their way and have their names called during special teams. We'll talk about that in the last segment because there's so much to that. When we come back, I want to talk about the hopes and dreams, hopes and expectations for the offense. On the other side of the ball, what are you looking for on a Saturday? And there's a bunch of names that we got to talk about. We'll do that when we come back to Lockdown. Hey, gang. That applause for you everydayers, for you folks that check in each and every day here on Lockdown Huskers. Greatly appreciated. And then this applause, this is for all you folks who have been waiting, just salivating, you chomping at the bit for Nebraska football. And today is the spring day, and this is where we get to all breathe it in again, and we get the reminder of what makes Nebraska great. It's a sea of red. It's the pep band and the alumni band firing through. It's the return of the great one. It's the return of Frank Solich and the honoring and celebration that will happen at halftime. There's also an event Saturday night for Coach Solich in celebration. Welcome home, Coach. Welcome home. It's a big deal as well. On the offensive side of the ball, and where we left defensively is a really good sign that you've had a really good day on Saturday at Memorial Stadium is to not have penalties thrown on you. Like, it's a big deal. Like, we understand in full not to have penalties, right? And with this offense, no holding calls on the offensive line, no false starts, no bad lineups, right? We don't want you to line up in the wrong formation. Be able to do that means that you've accepted the coaching and teachings to that point of what the formations are, how to line up in them, what the timing is for motion, all those things. And then deep breath, deep breath, deep breath. No holding calls. because that means that the offensive linemen are under duress and the chaos took over and they decide to do the one thing that you pray that they not do, which is grab shirts and take people to the ground, or they get beat, or their hands are in the wrong place, or their head's in the wrong at the wrong level. Hat level high gets you in trouble. Low man wins. We understand that, right? The offensive line, if they had a good day, we don't talk about them with penalties, false starts, or hold. Receivers. Look, if you get a pass thrown at you tomorrow, it cannot hit the ground. No matter who's throwing it, no matter what route's being called, this is a crowd that's coming for the strong run game and for the deep pass. Possession receivers, look, I understand. Good stuff. Necessary. We're all going to applaud. But the big roars are going to be for big plays and then big boy running. If we see 3 fullbacks, it's a great day. It's a great day. Nebraska fans will applaud. They see 3 fullbacks tomorrow. 3 tight ends on the field at the same time. They will applaud because it means there's purpose behind it. Watching the rotations, and the offensive linemen are going to rotate. They're just going to run different groups, but offensive linemen are going to have their hands full. Receivers, you're going to have your hands full against an experienced veteran secondary. Can you get wins? Don't put the ball on the ground. Don't put the ball on turf. Do not do that tomorrow. Running backs, don't fumble the ball. Positive yards, don't fumble the ball. Don't miss your blitz pickups. Like, those are the things that people just you scratch your head and just go, why is this happening? Pick up the blitz. Protect your quarterback. Quarterbacks are live tomorrow on Saturday. So, hey, boom, protect them. Protect them. Don't put the ball on the ground when you get carries. Don't put it on the ground. Don't put it on the ground. Don't put it on the ground. And then positive yards. Positive yards. From a running back coaching perspective, I can tell you that the running back room should be evolving to this. If you're watching the game today, what you're watching is for forward finish, positive finish, a position of dominance. And by that, you want to see in a power running game, what you want to see are runners finishing on their elbows, leaning forward. You don't want to see them on their side or on their back. Something bad happened. So if you want to watch for effective run game, for polished professional production, running backs handing the ball to official and running backs finishing on their elbows with their head forward. And if more of the rushes, so if there are 30 rushes and you see that on 24 of those rushes, there was forward finish, that's a great day. If that number's below that 80%, no. And then here's the other thing. I don't want to see a day of running backs running out of bounds. If you run the ball, and this is the theory behind it, if you're running the ball and you run out of bounds on 3 carries, well, if you duck your shoulder and lean forward at 6 foot tall, you're gonna that's 6 additional yards on 3 carries because you finished forward. And that ball placement matters, especially in drives in the Big Ten Conference, especially in the cold months. So habit is history. That's the tendency that you need to work from. So as you watch the running game, finish forward. Also, we don't want to see linemen standing around the pile. You don't want to see Huskers laying on the ground. Huskers pick up Huskers. You don't leave any man down. And then what you also have to commit yourself to is this. The quarterbacks cannot turn the ball over on Saturday. Can't happen. Interceptions, sack fumbles, can't happen, can't happen, can't happen. And we're talking about physical play. Quarterbacks are live. So on these quarterback runs, hand the ball to the official, finish forward. That's all we're asking for. It's important stuff, but it's in the minutia that you can tell me whether a team's picking up what the coach is offering. Forward, finish. Defensively, it's the opposite. Dominant position. Finish. I don't want defenders on their back. I don't want defenders on their side. I want defenders on top of offensive players. I don't want an offensive player to finish a play with his helmet towards my goal line. No. If this team is going to be the version of the team that Matt Rhule talks about, being physical, about running through players, about making tackles and finishing plays, those are the keys on how you're going to watch this. Helmets, elbows, forward. Tells an important story as you watch on Saturday. We'll throw the break again. We'll close out. I do want to talk about special teams because nothing gets Nebraska fans as irate as bad special teams. We're going to talk about that when we come back to Locked On. Hey, gang. Again, it's game day in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a spring game, but hey, it's Husker football in full. And thank you for hanging out and watching, allowing Locked On Huskers to be your first listen and watch of the day, especially on a day as important as this. It's a big day. Listen, we've got kickers. We know who the kickers are, and they return. And the popularity of the kickers in Nebraska is pretty interesting. Plus, you've got a third kicker who's a local high school kid who fans got to know in clutch last season during state tournament. Those three kickers are pretty settled in what the kicking game should look like for Nebraska. It should look like the all-conference level Buscemi and company that we saw a year ago. I hope that today they get along with the goalposts, and it's simple. The punt game, the kick game, look, it's kind of weird in the spring game because sometimes coaches will tell the kickoff men, hey, don't kick it out of the end zone, kick it into play, just kick it higher so we can evaluate players. And that's super important today, is to get opportunities to see folks who are borderline starters and borderline depth chart guys who will get a chance to make a name for themselves in greater form on special teams. So making tackles on special teams, making blocks on special teams, and then making returns on special teams. And if you don't understand how big a day this is for the return guys, that in a space where Alante Brown just jumped back into the transfer portal or jumped into the transfer portal, didn't come back, that's big because we could have factored him in as a receiver and as a return. The return of Xavier Betts, Isaiah Garcia Castaneda, that's a big return because they could be a big part of the return game. Billy Kemp IV, big part of the return game. Joshua Fleeks, big part of the return game. And a part of the separation in the depth chart at the skill positions will be their ability and capacity on special teams. Do they work as gunners on the return teams? Can they get downfield and have receivers and running backs who will make tackles? The same thing for tight ends, that in a tight room that tight ends playing on special teams is mandatory, and it's important. As you watch today on special teams, when they go through the special team drills, watch who the players are who were put back to return kicks, watch players who line up in the wedge to make blocks for them, because those players are giving themselves additional boost to the coaches. It moves them up the chart. And if a coach tells you that he can trust you on special teams, it means that that trust transfers over to offensive defense. The same for the Gunners and for the Jets down on the return teams, on the kickoff and punt teams. Those defenders, those 11 defensive backs who are all fighting for time and fighting for a claim. Well, special teams is how you're going to do it. And I would almost imagine, I'll speak from personal experience, that spring games to me helped make the roster complete. Because there are folks who are borderline starters or borderline guys on the travel squad, this is how they make their name and this is how they cross over the bridge. But this is also where players decide, you know what? This isn't for me. I'm not going to get the reps here. And as you watch today, pay attention to the players who line up in various special teams, because those players are going to have decisions made. Some are making decisions for themselves in their play. Some are going to have decisions made for them based on Saturday at Memorial Stadium. It's a big day, folks. I don't have to overhype this. New coach, new regime, new time, new Huskers. And we get to see them in full for the very first time. Have your eyes open, but God bless your heart. It's a big day for football in Lincoln, Nebraska. Thank you once again for making Locked On Huskers your first watch. And listen, each and every single day we'll close with the 3 words that will rain down across Lincoln and across the state of Nebraska today. Go Big Red.